I think every interest or passion or hobby or whatever is going to have its downsides. Reptiles included, they're probably more of a lifestyle than a hobby because they're just so time consuming and they're going to be a huge part of your life. But if I didn't enjoy it, I probably wouldn't have this many. But I think it's important to focus on the downside sometimes, to stay realistic about it and know what you're getting yourself into with these animals. So the first one we've got is probably one that you could guess yourself, that being travel. Before you go places, you're gonna have to think about your reptiles, whether they're coming with you, whether someone's gonna watch them, whether you're going for a short enough period of time that they'll be fine without being watched. And this goes for any pets, whether it's dogs or cats or whatever. Reptiles are probably a bit easier in this case. Actually, they might not be. I would say they're easier because they don't need as much attention. Like, she can go longer without eating than a dog can, but at the same time, it's probably easier to find someone that's willing to watch your dog than your weird lizard or snake or something. But I'm not gonna lie, it does definitely add stress when you're planning on going somewhere for more than like a day, depending on what kind of animals you have. It's fine though, we make it work. But the next thing is it kind of sounds like I'm just whining when I say this, but it's that you always have to do the care for your animals. Maybe you have just like a super busy day, a ton of stuff you've been doing all day, and it's already like 2 a.m. and you still haven't fed the reptiles or still haven't done water changes. It's not really something you can put off. It's not like homework you can just shove until right before the class. The animals need their food, they need their water, so they always need that time, whether you like it or not. It's the same thing if you're sick. If I'm just feeling bad one day, if I've come down with something, the reptiles don't really care. They still want their dinner. And yeah, although sometimes they can go, like maybe the snakes will go an extra day with food if I'm really not up to it that day. It's not a huge deal, but trying to stay on schedule and making sure everyone gets everything they need. Even if you do just have one reptile, it is important that they get priority when it comes to their health. Sometimes things can add up without you realizing it. I did a video on how much it costs to keep a pet snake, and it's really not much. It turns out the average for me is about $10 a month per snake, which I think that's perfectly manageable and amazing for a living animal to be able to live off just $10 a month. But I do just have times come up where all of a sudden it's kind of like a surge of stuff I have to buy and a big chunk of money I have to spend. Maybe I realize in a month the UVBs are about to go out, so it's time to replace them, but I forgot about it. So that might be an extra, who knows how much money, depending on how many UVBs have to be replaced. Maybe something broke, nothing is gonna last forever. All of a sudden you might have cracked an enclosure or dropped a water bowl or done something that is required to be replaced even if you didn't expect it. This kind of goes for anything, but if it is something that your animal can't live without or will do much better with, you are gonna have to invest that money. So although most of the time you can expect just how much you're gonna pay, there is the occasional time when all of a sudden you're spending more than you would like because of an accident or something you forgot or something else that came up, even just bringing your animal to the vet. That brings me to my next point, and obviously you're gonna care a lot about your reptiles. They are living things. You're eventually gonna have a pretty strong relationship with them, or at least I hope, and that means they can be the source of new stress just because you're concerned for them. It's kind of like having a kid. You might be worried that something's gonna happen. Even like speaking of being on vacation, it does bring extra stress while I'm on the trip because I am worrying about the animals, even though I'm sure I have everything covered. But even just noticing something wrong with your animal, it's like, they're probably fine, but you just can't stop thinking about it, but you can't quite figure out what the issue is. I think it happens to all of us at least a couple times, and it's perfectly understandable because you do put so much time and invest so much in them because they are so important. So by all means, I definitely think it's understandable and worth it to be concerned, but there are times where your stress levels or anxiety levels can just rise a little because of the animals that you have under your responsibility. So this one's kind of depressing, but there's always, at least for me, this little worry that some sort of new law is going to come up with reptiles. Now personally, I don't keep anything super crazy or super exotic. The biggest thing I have right now is a ball python, but that's just right now. But even if you aren't keeping larger animals, it might be a concern just with different regulations. For example, you can look at the 201, I think it was, species of amphibians that were suddenly just illegal to bring across state lines. Unexpected things like that can come up, whether it's because of ecological concern with different things like animals being introduced to places, or just because a lot of people are stupid and don't realize just how responsible owners can be completely fine with certain animals. For example, really large snakes. There is that issue where there's a lot of dumb owners, a lot of people that buy them and don't realize what they're getting themselves into, so they might release it or get someone hurt. And although this isn't common, this does urge people to push these weird laws that kind of restrict certain things. So for a lot of you, this won't be a concern if you're living in the US and you have a corn snake. I can't imagine corn snakes going anywhere, but compared to dogs or cats, it's something that I always kind of worry about a little bit. Hopefully I'm not putting any extra stress on you, because this usually isn't a big deal, but it's something that I personally think about sometimes. The final downside of keeping reptiles that I have today is once you get one, you're probably gonna end up with more. Whether you like it or not, you're just gonna keep seeing animals that you want. You're gonna wanna get all of them. Like, all the time. There's always something else that you can add to your room. But in a way, that's really not a downside, because if you're thinking that, I think that means you're enjoying your first one. But these are the negatives that I can think of when you're keeping reptiles. By no means do any of these outweigh all of the amazing things that comes with these animals. But like I said, it's important to actually bring all things into consideration so you know just what you're about to get into. Things like this are always good to think about each time you're about to buy either your first animal, your second animal, or your 100th animal, because they each by all means go for all the individual animals that you have. I don't really want to ask this, but make sure you leave me some other negatives of reptile keeping in the comments, just in case people that either haven't started keeping or are considering more animals, things that they should take into consideration. Don't go too crazy. You don't need to like make stuff up. If there's just anything that's been on your mind, let me know in the comments. But that'll be it for this video. So I'm Alex, and thanks for watching.